Okay, everybody, and again, this is the Music Theory Study Hall class. It's an hour-long study hall. You guys are welcome to bring any and all questions related to music theory and composition to this class, and I will answer what you guys have. I've taught many different theory subjects. Basically, today I've had some 30-minute theory sessions with a few students talking about binary form. Now, what's binary form? Binary form is two themes, two different themes juxtaposed. And in each theme, there's like two or three phrases that are played. One is the question phrase and one is the answer phrase. And usually each phrase is labeled A and B. If it's a third phrase that's different from the first two, it's be labeled C. So you could have A, B, and C, and then you could have A repeat again. So that's a potential thing. But we talked about in the different theory classes this morning how to analyze the binary form and what it takes. And basically, we were tracing the spaces or the phrases rather with phrase markings with slurs, and we were actually labeling the phrases A, B, A, and such like. And then what we were doing was we basically said, okay, this is phrase A, this is phrase B. And then at the end, it said, okay, write down the form that you just analyzed in order and tell me this. So we had students say A, A, B, A, that was one of them, or then A, B was another, or A, B, B, A. You have some of those. So you can have any one of those forms could be in the form. Those could be in the composition. So that's what we studied basically in one of the theory classes. In the other theory class, in the first one, I gave lectures on composite time signatures and how different composers write their time signatures. And I showed different ways to write a composite time signature. Like I wrote this. I'm going to bring it up. And it's where you can have 3 + 2 / 8, basically 5/8. So here we go. So I'm going to go and give me a second while I put this on the share screen. I'm sorry, guys. Let's do this. So this is what we were going over this morning. And, you know, I went into, you have 4/4, 3/4, and 2/4, which are simple time. And then when you start getting into compound time, you start getting into macro and micro beats. Micro beats are usually the dotted quarters of them all, and the dotted quarters act as the quarter notes in 8-note times with the 8 on the bottom. And whereas 4/4 would be 4 quarter notes, for example, 12/8 would be the equivalent of that with 4 dotted quarter notes. But they'd be in sets of 3 8 notes each, dotted quarter. So we went over simple versus compound time. I have another video on this channel or on my tutorials channel basically explaining, the differences between simple and compound time signatures. You can check that out. But here's the gist. Here's the sample. And you have, I basically said, okay, students, write out, let's go into 2/4, let's do 2 measures of 2/4. Then let's go, okay, how will we write 4/4 as a composite time signature? And I basically showed them, okay, if you write a composite time signature 4/4, it would look like 2 + 2 / 4, or 2/4 + 2/4 equals 4/4. So the bottom number stays the same. Bottom number stays 4 because that's the quarter note, that's the beat unit. And that doesn't change, but the top number changes. So sometimes composers will actually do the composite time signatures, write them down, because they want to subdivide or show the divisions of a particular time signature, so that you can better count them out. For instance, if you have 5/4, you can either have 5/4, which is this baby right here. Oops, where did my cursor go? And then, yeah, then you can have 3 + 2 / 4. Same difference, but it's counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. More common time signature of that is 5/8. You can have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then I broke this down into 2 composite time signatures. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 + 2 / 8, and 2 + 3 / 8. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And we did the same thing with 7/8. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Then 1, 2, 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then I did the same thing, breaking it down in composite time signatures. So we had a lot of that going on. So those were the gists of the theory classes that were covered this morning. So any questions on that, you guys can chime in. Otherwise, I will take your questions right now. If you guys have anything to offer or to ask, feel free and let me know, and I will be here. And just to take some time, I wanted to show you the binary form. I can get the time signatures page to go off. Save. And let's go to Finale. Go to Open. Binary form 1. Okay, so that's binary form 1 is the first thing that we did. So let me share the screen with that one. So binary form, bi means 2, and we listen to Bach's Musette. Da dee da 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 da. And that repeats da dee da 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 dee da 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 da. So first phrase is the question phrase. And then the second phrase is the answer. Now I have videos on this channel of questions and answers, or either on this channel or on the tutorials channel. I forget which. Either one of those channels you can go and you can find that. And then There's also section A up here. And then there's section B right there. So section A is this whole, if you were to take this whole line right here, this whole top and 2 measures of the second system, that's all one section. That's section A. Then section B in the binary form rather would be the ending of the second system and all the way down to the fourth system, second measure, third measure, really, actually. And then the repeat of so it'd be AA, BB, A, and then A. So AA, BB, AA. So you double up on all of them. You double up on both A and both B. So that was the first one that we went through. And then it told us to write down, so you'd write A, B, B on the form. Okay. All right. So that was that one. That was the first one that we had. And then we had the other one. Let me grab it. This was binary form 2. So we had this stuff. We had da 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 dee da da dum ba 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 bum ba da dum da da dum da 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 dum da da dee da da dum da 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 dum. We had that. It's Mozart's, one of Mozart's pieces. So we had to do the same thing. We had to put the phrase markings on there, make sure, you know, we did it. And then we identify the question and answer. So this is the question, answer, question, answer, whoops. And then we go into da 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 dee da 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 da, and then it goes back to the beginning part, question, answer, and then we have our sections. Section A is here. Section. So what section is this? Section A again. Okay, so what is this? Section B. And this would be right back at the beginning, section A. So it's AA. If you were to write the form down at the bottom where it says number 2, writing out the form, it would be AABA. Okay? So that's what we did this morning. So stop me if you guys have questions and I'll answer them. And let's check the questions and see if I have anybody on. All right, so we did form, and there's actually more forms that we can go over. So I'm just going to go into that. There's one, and if you guys are unfamiliar with what phrases are, we need to go over phrases first. There's these things called phrases, and then there are motives. So motives are actually smaller than phrases, so let me bring this up. So phrases and motives. So most music is made up of phrases and motives. A phrase is one complete musical thought or idea, like a sentence in English. They are usually a few measures in length and have a defined ending. Defined ending is the key. Motives are short, melodic, and or rhythmic musical ideas that are repeated to help unify an entire piece. Okay? So that's how it's different. So in a motive, you're looking for a similar rhythmic or melodic pattern that occurs more than once. So if we were to listen to his minuet, so ba da dum da da dum da dee da 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 dum da da dum bum ba da dum dum da da dum dum da dum. So if we were to do that phrase, that minuet in F major, how many phrases are in the piece? Does anybody know? There's one phrase, bracketing the whole thing. And how many times does the phrase occur? It occurs only once, because there's one of these, phrase one, and in this little snippet here, and then the motive is this rhythmic pattern right here. Ba ba bum bum, eighth eighth quarter quarter, eighth eighth quarter quarter, eighth eighth quarter quarter, bum bum. So 1 and 2 3, 1 and 2 3, 1 and 2 3, 1 2 3. So the eighth quarter quarter is the rhythmic motive. So it's going to have you, every time you see that rhythmic motive, you're going to circle it. So if you had this out, what you would do is you would just circle that rhythmic motive. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give this to you so that you have something to work on. Let's do it together. And go back to class, unmute. And I don't know where my desktop went. There we go. Phrases and motives, you can download that. And then let's go into it and let's say, okay, we have one phrase, one bracket, and then we have, what else? So we're on here. So what else do we have? We have one phrase, we have one bracket. And then we have the rhythmic motive, eighth, eighth, quarter, quarter, eighth, eighth, quarter, quarter. Okay. So if we have that, how many times does that come up in the piece? So what you're going to do is you're going to count them. Okay, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 3 circles. Okay, so it's 3 times that that motive comes up. So how many times does the motive occur? 3 times. All right. So that is the motive. Okay, so phrases and motives, that's another important step. Another such form that we often have is a sonata form. We have sonata form all the time. So if we put sound on, let's go ahead. I'm going to actually make sure that this is shared. And let's see. All right, so this is an example of sonata form. So the sonata form is very interesting in the fact that it's made up of 3 basic parts. The first part is called the exposition. It introduces the main themes. It contains 2 different themes. Each theme may have 1 or more phrases in it. The themes are elaborated upon in the development section, right? And then the last section is the recapitulation, which repeats the themes that were introduced in the exposition. So in this sample sonatina, or sonata rather, we have not only the exposition, the development, and the recapitulation to label, we also have theme A, theme B, and we have our phrases, whether they're question, answer, or what have you. So we're going to take a look at this sonatina by Clementi and see what we've got. This is thematic structure. So let's play this one. you have it. Okay, so that's a short sonatina. Sonatina, the tina part just means short sonata. So we have theme A, which bum ba ba bum bum ba da da bum ba be da 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 da. We have the phrasing. We have that phrase. We have theme A. We have the exposition at the beginning. Then we have the next phrase. Bum ba da bum ba be da 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 dee da 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 da. Then we have that second phrase, which answers, goes to theme, leads right into theme number 2. Da 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 dee da 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 da. Goes right into theme number 2 and goes on and on and on. So, so we have theme A at first, phrase 1 and 2. Then phrase 2 goes right into theme B in the exposition. And then phrase 1 and 2 there. And then that ends the first page. And then it repeats. And then on the second page we have what's called the development, where it turns from C major to C minor. Do we get that? Da 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 dun dun ba ba da ba 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 be da 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 ba ba. That's minor key instead of major, and then it works its way back in the development section, way back to C major. Works its way back when it goes to, by the time it gets to measure 28, it's back to C measure, or C major. So that's the development section. All of that from 16 to 27, that's development. You've got how many themes in there? You've got, first of all, you have to put development in the big box. Second box is theme A. And then theme what? B. And then question and answer phrases on both. And then we've got that da 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 dee da 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 da. Then we've got the well, this development section is here. It's actually 16, my bad, 16 to 20, 16 to 23. And then the recapitulation is 24. 24, it's back to C major. So that's my correction. So 24 back to recapitulation, and then we have theme A. Theme B is on 28, 29, 30. We have 2 phrases in each. And then we have from 30 to the end is just recapitulation. So that basically is the short sonata form. So that is something to take a look at. Really something to take a look at. And you really want to be looking at these, because I will do this in other theory lessons where I'll take these and take them apart. So if you miss it now, you'll get it later. So that's no problem. If you miss it in this class, we'll do it in one of the 30-minute lessons that we do. And let me check on the questions to see if there's anybody piping in here. Okay, so we have...
Hi, Cody.
Hey! You popped on. 30 minutes left. We're just going over. I didn't know if anybody had any questions, so I just started going over a whole bunch of stuff. Just kind of random. But I went over sort of what I went over this morning. I had some other theory lessons this morning that I taught. We were going over composite time signatures and how composers use them and write them out. And then I was going in another theory class and telling them about, binary form, which is like the AB sort of stuff, and how to label them. And now we were sort of reviewing that here, and then we were going into Sonata Form and the thematic structure. So, and this Clementi piece is very famous for that. So, and it's very short. It's short enough that you don't have to go through a lot to get the form. It's very short, sweet, and to the point. So, any questions about Sonata Form and its thematic elements? Does everybody have? Do you guys have that?
Yeah, it basically has the three parts, the exposition, like to start out, then development, which I think the development is supposed to enhance the tension, right? That then the recapitulation resolves in the third part.
Yeah, so if we look at the Clementi, I think it's the 16, measure 16 on the second page. I don't know if you could see what's on my screen up there, but yeah, the development starts with sort of a weird, adaptation of the first theme, but it's developed, it's played out, and yeah, it intensifies. It goes from C major to sort of a C minor tonality, and then after 16 to 23 is that development section, and then 24 it goes right back to C major.
And that's because 16 and the first two beats of 17 are really quite similar to one, right?
Yeah,
But the difference is you have the E flat, so that's your minor motif, C minor.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, and we actually went over earlier in this class today, this afternoon, the motives and phrases and exactly what those are. So,
can you go over that, like the definition of a motive and phrase precisely?
okay.
I guess a motive, okay, this is what I think. A motive is like a repeated element that we may see in different ways, and a phrase is a certain grouping of notes that function together.
Well, yeah, I think you're on to the right track. Phrases are complete musical thoughts, complete musical ideas packaged together. They're like sentences in English. I like to make that comparison. Okay, so they're like sentences in English with a period, or with an exclamation point, whatever you choose. But the motives are somewhat smaller in that they are the rhythmic or somewhat repeating patterns that hold the phrases together. I don't know if you have access to the group chat, but there's a phrases and motives PDF in there.
Yes, I can download it.
And it actually has up at the top the meanings of the phrases versus the motives. And the motives actually are more like, there was a Mozart sonata that had, it starts out with two quarters, or 2/8 and 2 quarter notes. And the next measure is 2/8 and 2 quarter notes. And that rhythm carries through in about 3 of the measures of that phrase. So that 2/8, 2 quarters, 2/8, 2 quarters, that's the rhythmic motive per se. And then the phrase has a clear beginning, middle, and end. So if you download that sheet, it'll have the big thing called phrase, and it'll have the bracket over top. And then the motive is inside, basically interior to the phrase. It's inside the phrase multiple times. It's littler. I kind of like to think the motive is little. Phrases are bigger.
So what we have in measure 1, like the quarter, eighth, quarter, quarter, is also what we have in measure 16.
Mm-hmm.
Is that sort of rhythmic element a motive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, and then these, I don't know if you could see it on the sonatina, but there are these dashed lines that are slurs. You could probably barely see it because it's dashed. It's not really put in. But
yeah, I can make them out.
Yeah, those are the phrase markings. So those big arcing long, they almost look like rainbows, but not. They're big things. Those are the phrases that are on the worksheet. So, and that are on there. So they use brackets for the theme here, and then for the phrases they use the dotted line slurs, and then the other stuff they'll use a big rectangular box for the exposition and the other thematic elements. So that's kind of how you could see. But yeah, the quarter, eighth, quarter, that's a melodic, that's a rhythmic motive that comes up time and time and time again. So, are there any other rhythmic motives that you can see? Or melodic? Anything like that?
So I'm not sure if like the octave thing that repeats twice would count, like where you go the A, high A, and then you just do it with the C's next, right?
Yeah, that could count as one. That could count as
Yeah.
both a rhythmic one and a melodic one. Yeah. Uh-huh. And let's see. Let's go to, what else do we have? Ooh. We have, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay. And there's more of that in the recapitulation too. On 29, 30, 31, 32. 32 and 34.
Let me see. So wait, sorry, it's a little fuzzy on my screen. So 28 is the start of the second to last line.
Yeah.
Okay, so then so you're talking about the start of the last line?
Yeah. Well, it's the second to last measure on the second to last line and the start of the last line.
Yeah. Because then we have the octave Ds, right?
Octave Ds and then octave Fs.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are two more motives there. So you've got those. And I see some others, but I'm trying to see if you could put your fingers on them. Because there's some scale passages too that I'm eyeing.
Yeah, there are, right? There's the one where I go up the G. Yeah, because I did the F sharp. That's a G ascending.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
And there's also another ascending scale, right? Mm-hmm. At the end of the third line on the second page. Sorry, I can't read the measure numbers. They're too blurry from here.
Maybe, what if I were to blow it up? Let me just blow it up a little bit. Maybe that helps. I don't know. Or maybe it becomes more pixelated. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but now it's like hard for me to scroll around. Let me look at Let me just open the PDF on my computer because maybe that would make it easier.
Maybe. Yeah, that I know this isn't the best setup for we I try though.
Did you tell them that they should switch to Zoom? I thought you were going to tell them that.
You know, I was, but I was telling them you should have it more like Zoom
Yeah.
with the sound and
Okay.
everything, right? And the screen,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. So whatever that is that's in measure 35 is very similar to the part that's in measure 12.
Yep. Ba da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 da. Right? Yeah. That's that little motive that comes in there again. Yep. 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 So if you, but yeah, just looking at this, you could see a whole bunch of stuff. Like I remember when we were in art theory class, we had to mark every, we had to like mark everything, like come up with legends or keys, and like mark everything with, like okay, this color for this thing, or something like that. It's like rainbow artwork. You turn this you turn this thing in, it was all like filled with our markings on it because we were analyzing the whole thing, and that's kind of how we did it, you know,
That's
so
awesome.
we could see it.
Can I ask you anything?
Sure.
All right. So one of the things I've heard some of the instructors say on here is that certain chords have color. And I'm not sure what they mean by that. Like, I get the idea that something sounds sad, like a minor, major sounds happy. You might get suspense, right, out of an augmented chord, or
Yeah.
dread from a diminished.
Yeah.
But like, is that what they mean? Like, what do the people mean by color? And how does that apply to like the more complex chords, like sevenths and then chord extensions?
Well, what they mean, they're onto something when they say it that certain chords have a certain color to them, I think. You know, and you know those. You know about that, like you said. The major tends to be more sunny in my opinion, and the minor is of course more saddening, Uh, the tension tends to be in the augmented and diminished chords, but also if you play like a major seventh chord, I can hear a lot of tension in that. I can hear some tension in that because of the major seventh. It's kind of ba 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 up there, you know. It's wanting to lead to something but not quite, it's like not quite there. There's some tension wanting to go somewhere, but it never quite. There's a certain color to that too, and it's it's I don't know how to explain it. It's more melancholy. I would describe it as more of a melancholy sort of mood, sort of color there, um, in some respects. And then the dominant seven is more, um, like brings stuff together. It's like more, it has more warmth, brings stuff together. That's the kind of color that, or the kind of character that I would give to it. So they're referring to color as sort of a, almost like a character thing, characterization of what those things could be. So yeah, um, I'm trying to think. That's what I get from the seventh chords. Those kind of color combinations is, the major chord seems sort of suspended, you know, and then the dominant seven is like free to roam, like kind of just brings texture together. So I hope I answered that. I don't know if it.
Yeah. Well, so the second part was how do the extensions kind of factor into that? Like, does a ninth have a character, 11th, 13th, 15th?
Well, the ninth. I'm trying to think. Okay. Well, in my view, the ninths, what would happen there, it would depend on whether the ninth was, there you have the ninth that's flat nine, and then you've got the natural ninth, right? You've got the da versus da on top of the seventh. So you've got, let's say you have D, F sharp, A, C for the seventh chord, and then you have got the choice of putting an E on there, which is the regular ninth, or you have E flat. Well, for the one that has the E, it has more of a grand, more of a big, important sort of color, like a big, almost patriotic sort of thing. The color for the one with the E flat on top kind of reminds me of the diminished. It kind of gives you a suspenseful sort of thing. Like, ooh, where is it going to go? Because it wants to go, that D flat sounds like that E flat sounds like it wants to go down.
To D?
Yeah.
To the second? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, and it often does, So that's kind of how those extensions kind of work. 11ths and 13ths, I haven't dealt with those as much. So I would have to play around with those just a little bit. But, at least 7ths and 9ths, I would know kind of how they work. Because, yeah, I think once we start going into 13ths and stuff, I'm like, okay, you're just stacking. At a certain point, it becomes stacks. And then you're just trying to figure out what notes to put where. But yeah, but those are the kinds of things that these extensions kind of remind me of. It's sort of like the extensions carry, like the pattern. There's like a pattern of how the chords have the different colors, and they keep repeating. But it's more accentuated the more notes you add. I don't know if you know what I'm sort of referring to, but if you have like a diminished chord, well, let's say you make that a seventh chord with the flat, the flat on top, or the ninth chord with the flat nine on top. It's kind of sounds like a diminished chord, but with the new root on the bottom. And it kind of has that suspenseful thing like the diminished has. Or, or the augmented, it has those things,
Because it's not something that is directly diatonic, so it's giving you that kind of unfinished feeling.
Yeah.
Like it's fundamentally dissonance, right? That's what it is. Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right.
It's really.
Can I ask another one?
Sure. Hey.
No, what were you gonna say? Tell me first.
I think you're the one and only that showed up and asked any questions, so that's fine. I'm cool with that.
All right, cool. So I want to go over a topic that was taught in the Music Theory 102 class and seemed like very confusing to me when I was looking over the stuff in the journal after. We were basically talking about functional groups, and so we had done all the chords that are in C major and that are diatonic to A minor. And then we basically talked about how there's the tonic, the good predominants, which are the 4 and the 2, the dominant, the 7, and then the diminished 7, and then the predominant. And I guess I'm not really quite sure how the augmented 3 in the major is a good predominant. That doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, augmented third. So
the C, he has the C augmented serves as, so the chords that we said were good as predominants were D minor.
Ooh, that sounds kind of funky. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that. You know, because I can do that by, I'm just gonna sort of try to get that. I'm just gonna write up some chord really quickly, just some chords of the minor scale, because that's kind of how I look at it. I do the chord scale, a chord tree. That's what I like to call it, and that helps me with seeing it. Hmm. Oh boy. Okay. That's a topic I haven't heard a lot about. I may have to research that myself. Oh, okay. Progression. Ascending. Yeah, that sounds right. What he's getting at, I think it's something to do with, because I don't know if you've heard me say, in terms of circle of fifths, going to the different keys, adding, yeah, or you could say, sometimes I'll say, if you go clockwise, you're going up a major fifth, or perfect fifth, excuse me, and then if you're going counterclockwise, you're going down a perfect fifth. So you're inverting. You're going back the other way. So he's probably saying that's what you're doing. You're going back that way. Progression. Okay. So it was an F major chord, you mean? Oh, so he's going down. Da 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 da. So he's going down a fourth. Yep. And then if he goes down another fourth, it's going to be da 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 da. It's going to be G again. So it's going to be down. Yeah. I'm typing it as I'm doing it, because I'm actually drawing it out as you're asking, because I'm like, I want to see this, you know. Yeah, I just, a lot of times, I like to see it and hear it. So a lot of times when they give me questions, I'll draw out the stuff and see if I could sort it out. It's kind of like a puzzle, you know. So C augmented. All right, so for C to be augmented, what we would have to do, we have minor 1, we have diminished 2, right? And then we have 3 as the major normally, right? So in order for that to be augmented, we would have to put the G as G sharp, right? So, oh, I probably didn't share the screen. Let me, oh, where are you? I have too many windows open. Sorry about that. Sometimes I get carried away and I forget to swap the windows. Can you see it now? Okay, so here's the A minor, here's the B diminished, and then here's your C chord. And this G, whoops, I just got rid of it. Um, that G chord needs to, that C chord needs to have the G go up to G sharp. Da, and then why it could be a good, let's take that. Because guess what the next chord is? 4 would be F major, right? And that's the what do they call that? The predominant? Oh yeah, capital 6, major 6, yeah, sorry. So that's, yeah, no, never mind. Oh, okay. So this is supposed to be, whoops, what did I do? I did something totally wrong. That was my fault. Let me bring that down. Something's going on. Something's going wrong with this here. I had to bring it down to D minor. Okay, so what he basically has is C augmented, and then he's got, did he have D minor in the next one? Oh, okay. Well, I can see where the G sharp and the C augmented chord can lead to the A and the D minor. Or it can lead to the 6 in A minor. It can lead to like this. If I put the chord here, if I go here and put your, let's see, oh, give me something here. Yeah, there we go. See, there's your C augmented again. Compositionally, you can go from there to A. That G sharp wants to go to A. So you could either go there or, yeah. Well, actually, it's not ACE though. It's, hold on, let me put this up, because this is still the 3 because it starts on C, right? We're still in A minor, C, E, G sharp. So we have this going to D minor. So I'm still going from a C tonal thing to a D tonal thing. I'm still going up the scale, so to speak. All right? So that's the kind of confusing part that he throws in there, is, you can go to, oops, this. There we go. Or let's go to, let me see this one. And, oh, let's go this one. So you can either have this augmented 3 going to D, the next chord up, which is D minor, or you can have it going, whoops, gotta make sure my note entry is turned off. Or you can have C, E, G sharp going to C, F, A. Yeah, still in A minor. That's a possibility. So he's thinking more, I think he's thinking you can lead that G sharp to A still. As long as there's a chord that has an A in it, you can lead that G sharp to that A. And that would make sense. It doesn't have to change the whole key. You could still have it. I think that's what he's getting at. So the first one that I wrote down, the C augmented to D minor, doesn't really make any harmonic sense, at least to me. The one that makes the most harmonic sense to me would be the C augmented to the F, because that's a common thing piano players do. You know, da 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 da. They chromatically go up. You know, so that's a very common progression. So yeah, that's very common. So yeah, I'm gonna look into that, because I haven't heard a lot of that. Maybe I'm a little bit off. Maybe it's been too long since I've been in theory, but I I've I haven't heard about a lot of. I've heard some of the functional groups, but maybe that'll be something good to look up. You know, we never. Yeah, and even teachers, we never stop learning. We never arrive. We're always students, even if we teach, because we're always bouncing knowledge. Yep, it's always what we're doing. All right, so I think that's it for this class, unless anybody else has anything. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to do these Friday at 2. I don't know if I missed a Friday in there somewhere, but I'm gonna definitely try to keep it on an even schedule. Um, so if you'd like to, come on over and we'll have fun. Yeah, and that's what my intention was, because I was like, I really want a class that, really, I want to get out of the way. I don't really want to have a lesson plan all the time. I I kind of like the students to kind of give me stuff to, you know, that's kind of it. Because sometimes maybe I run out of ideas, you know, and you, it's just nice to have that discussion type class, you know. Yeah, because many different students are at many different levels, and so I get questions at many different levels of the game. So it's, you know, I can get beginner questions, intermediate questions, advanced questions, or, either or. So it just depends. And so I just gear myself up for whoever is whoever. And whatever they're working on, whatever is frustrating them, confusing them, I'd like to at least try to see if I can make it worth understanding now, so they can go back and go, okay, this is how this works. Yeah. All right. I'll see you next Friday, hopefully. All right. See you. See you. Bye. Why is it not wanting me to end it? Oh my gosh. Save. Oh my god. You're crazy. End it.